I saw it happen in slow motion, like a train wreck I couldn't stop. My sister Jessica stood over my 6-year-old son, Jakob, with a glass of Pinot Noir, the red liquid swirling inside it as if it were some kind of weapon she was preparing to use. She raised it, tilting it toward his painting, the one he'd spent 3 days working on. A watercolor of the lake outside our parents' cabin. I barely breathed as the first drop hit the paper. The wine staining the sky he had painted, turning it into a dark mess. He needs to learn that the world doesn't care about his little doodles. Jessica slurred, her voice casual, as if this was nothing more than an afterthought. It's just a piece of paper. I could hear the laughter that followed, but it wasn't mine. I didn't laugh. I didn't even move. My son froze, his small hands trembling as he stared at his ruined work. The others? They laughed like it was a joke, like this was a normal part of family life. My mother chuckled nervously from across the table, desperate to smooth things over. "Oh, Jessica, stop being so harsh," she said. But the words hung in the air, empty and weak. My Uncle Mark slapped his knee, adding to the chorus of laughter, oblivious to the real damage being done. The sound of their voices felt like a knife in my chest. But I didn't scream. Not yet. I just watched Jacob, his face reddening with silent shame, wishing he could vanish. I stood up then, the scraping of my chair against the floor cutting through the noise. I didn't look at the wine or the mess on the table. I looked at Jessica, my gaze steady and unflinching. For the first time, I felt something shift inside me. Something solid. Something I could no longer ignore. "You enjoyed that," I said, my voice quiet, but cutting through the laughter like a blade. "You enjoyed watching a 6-year-old's work get destroyed. And you think that's teaching him something?" Jessica raised her glass again, almost dismissive. She didn't even look at me. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, but I didn't know if it was anger or something else. The laughter faded into an uncomfortable silence as I stood there, blocking the view of Jacob's ruined painting. Jessica didn't seem to notice the shift in the air, her glass still raised, ready to be filled again, as if nothing had happened. My heart beat in my throat as I stepped closer to the table, my voice steady. But there was an edge to it now. "You think this is funny? You think it's okay to destroy a child's work because it's just paper?" I said, meeting her gaze without flinching. Her smirk didn't waver. She set her glass down with a clink, a slight roll of her eyes. "Oh, please, Sarah, don't make this a bigger deal than it is. It's just a painting. It wasn't going to matter." Her words were laced with the kind of indifference that made my stomach turn. I wanted to reach across the table, grab her by the shoulders, shake her until she saw how wrong she was. But I didn't. I just stood there, forcing myself to breathe. I could feel my father's eyes on me from across the room, his face unreadable. He didn't move, didn't say anything. This was his world. His family. He never interfered when Jessica did things like this. His silence was a constant weight on me. I turned to him, hoping for something. Anything. But he didn't even blink. "Dad," I said, my voice quieter now, but filled with an unspoken plea. "Aren't you going to say something?" But he didn't. Jessica took another sip of her wine, her eyes flicking toward me with a glint of satisfaction. "Oh, I see," she said with a mock gasp. "You're still the martyr." "Huh? Always the one to play the victim. Always looking to make things about you." I could feel the sting of her words. But I didn't back down. I wasn't the victim anymore. Not this time. My mother shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her hands wringing the napkin in her lap. "Oh, Jessica, can't we just have a peaceful dinner?" she asked, her voice tight, as if she was trying to keep everything from falling apart. but it was already falling apart. My son's painting, my family, all of it was breaking into pieces. And there was no way to fix it by pretending it wasn't happening. I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I couldn't take my eyes off the mess on the table, the red wine slowly soaking through the paper. I felt something snap inside me. "You think it's just a painting?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly but firm. "You think it's okay to destroy a 6-year-old's work just because you don't get it?" Jessica set her glass down with a soft thud, eyes glinting with that all-too-familiar look of superiority. "It's just paper. Sarah, it's not a big deal. You're overreacting." Like always. The calmness in her voice only made the blood in my veins run colder. I could feel the weight of the room pressing down on me, the silence heavy between each word. My father still hadn't said a thing. I turned to look at him, but his eyes were fixed on his plate, as if this was just another Wednesday dinner. It didn't matter what Jessica did or said, he would stay out of it. "Dad, don't you think this is a little much?" I asked, desperate for something. Anything. To break the tension. His gaze flickered up for half a second, then returned to his meal. "It's just a painting. Sarah," he muttered, his voice flat, as though it was just part of the furniture, part of the background noise. My throat tightened. Jessica's smile twisted into a sneer as she refilled her glass, clearly pleased with the chaos she'd caused. "You're such a sucker for the drama. Sarah, you know that," she said, her words cutting through the air like glass. I wanted to yell, to scream at her, but the words stuck in my throat. "Maybe you're just upset because you can't stand that I'm right," she added, tipping the glass back with a smug grin, clearly enjoying the moment. I wanted to throw the wine in her face, wipe that arrogant expression off her face. But I didn't. I turned to look at Jacob, my heart breaking as I saw the tears welling up in his eyes, his tiny hands still gripping the edge of the table like he was holding on for dear life. He wasn't crying. Not yet. But I saw the way his shoulders were trembling, the way he shrank back into himself. He wasn't looking for comfort. He was looking for a way out. I wanted to rush to him, to pull him into my arms and shield him from this. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not when I still had to break the silence that had been suffocating us for years. "Don't you dare speak to me like that," I said to Jessica, my voice shaking with something I hadn't felt in years: anger. Pure, unfiltered anger. She laughed. "Oh, Sarah, you're such a drama queen. Calm down. It's just a little mess. You need to stop coddling him." Her words hit me like a slap to the face, and I finally felt the rage bubbling up, choking me. "This is not just a mess. Jessica," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "This is your whole life. This is how you treat people." Her smirk faltered. Just for a second. But she quickly recovered. "Maybe you should learn to lighten up. Maybe you need to stop acting like everything's the end of the world." I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to lash out physically. But the fight wasn't going to be won with words alone. The silence hung there, thick and suffocating. I was standing between my son and my sister now. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fix everything. I didn't feel the need to make excuses for her behavior or smooth over the situation. It was done. It was time to end this. I thought for a moment that maybe, just maybe, this was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I'd made my stand, spoken my mind, and Jessica had flinched. Just for a second, the silence hung in the air, thick and uncertain. But then, she took a slow sip of her wine, her eyes locking with mine, the smug look returning to her face. "You're really going to make a scene over this? Over him?" she said. her voice dripping with mockery. He's just a kid. You're blowing this way out of proportion. End quote. My heart pounded in my chest, but I forced my voice to stay calm. It's not just about the painting, Jessica, I said, trying to keep my words measured. It's about you, the way you treat people, the way you think you can just destroy things and get away with it. She laughed softly. A cold, sharp sound. You act like I killed someone. It's just a little wine. Sarah, just a little mess. He'll get over it. Dude. I watched her set her glass down, her expression still unchanged, as if she hadn't heard a word I said. She was right back in her bubble, completely unaffected. My father's silence weighed on me again, more heavy than before. He still hadn't spoken, still hadn't moved. My mother fidgeted in her seat, trying to catch my eye. But I couldn't look at her, not now. It was clear that nothing I said would make a difference. Not here. Not now. Jessica leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, her face a picture of self-satisfaction. Honestly, you're still acting like you're the only one who's right. You're still playing the martyr. I thought you were better than this. Her words hit me like a slap, but I didn't react. I couldn't. Instead, I just nodded, pretending I was still in control, even though I could feel the anger bubbling just under the surface. I told myself I had won. I told myself that I had done what needed to be done. But the feeling was fleeting. Jessica wasn't backing down. She wasn't even listening. And when she turned to my mother with that look like everything was fine, like nothing mattered, it became clear to me, this wasn't over. It wasn't close to over. This was just another round in the battle for control. And I'd just taken a step in the wrong direction. I had thought I'd had my victory. But the truth was, nothing had changed. Not yet. The moment hung in the air like a charged wire, ready to snap. Jessica was still grinning, oblivious to the weight of the silence that had settled around us. My heart hammered in my chest. But I wasn't backing down. I locked eyes with her, my voice calm but firm. This isn't just about the painting, Jessica. This is about you, the way you've been treating people your whole life. She raised an eyebrow, like she wasn't even fazed. Oh, please, spare me the lecture, she said with a dismissive wave. You think you can make me feel bad? You think I care? You should, I said, stepping closer to her, the air between us thick with the tension I'd been holding back. Because the things you've done, they matter. They've been building up for years. I could feel the heat in my veins, the anger that had been festering for so long, finally bubbling to the surface. She laughed. That same cold laugh that made my skin crawl. You really think you can change anything? You're still just the quiet little sister. Sarah, always hiding in the background. To God. I clenched my fists at my sides, but I didn't take my eyes off her. Not anymore, I said, my voice steady, but with an edge that made her pause for the first time. Her smile faltered just for a second, but then she quickly recovered. Oh, I get it. You think you're going to have some big moment. Don't you? She said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. What? You think you can teach me a lesson? You're wasting your time. Well, I turned away for a moment, looking at my father. He was still sitting there, watching us, his face impassive. I had expected him to intervene, to say something, anything, but he remained silent, his eyes unreadable. I realized then he was never going to speak up. This had to be my fight now. I turned back to Jessica, my gaze unwavering. You've been lying to this family for years. Jessica, you've been manipulating everyone around you. And you think you can just keep getting away with it. Jessica's smirk returned. But this time, I could see the cracks in her armor. Manipulating? Me? Please. You have no idea what you're talking about, she said, her voice rising. But there was an edge of unease creeping in. I stepped forward, my presence forcing her to back up slightly, just enough to see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. No, Jessica, I know exactly what I'm talking about. You think you're untouchable, but you're not. Aid. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Jessica was still trying to maintain her control, but I could see the cracks widening. I was pushing her to the edge, and I wasn't going to stop. You think this is just about money? I continued, my voice cutting through the tension. It's not. It's about everything you've done to this family. Everything you've taken, without ever once thinking about the consequences. Her face twisted with a mix of anger and fear. And I knew I had her. I'm done letting you walk all over us. I'm done staying quiet. Too. Jessica took a step back, her eyes wide with something close to panic now. She reached for her phone, fumbling with it in her hands, trying to regain some semblance of control. You don't know what you're doing. Sarah, she said, her voice shaking slightly. This isn't how you fix things. You're making it worse. But I didn't listen. I wasn't going to fix things. I was going to break them. And in doing so, I would finally take back the power she had stolen from me. The power I had let her take for too long. You've already made it worse, I said. My words final. And for the first time in years, I saw the fear in Jessica's eyes. She had underestimated me. She had underestimated us. And now, there was no turning back. I watched as Jessica's phone dropped to the table, her fingers trembling as she reached for it again. The confident smirk that usually adorned her face had disappeared, replaced by something far more vulnerable. You can't do this, she said, her voice cracking just enough to make me feel the gravity of the moment. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Her eyes flicked to my father, seeking some sort of reassurance. But he remained silent, his gaze fixed on the wall, as if he were watching a scene play out that he no longer cared to participate in. For a moment, I thought she might try to run, to escape. But she didn't. She sat there, a shadow of the person she once was. As I laid everything bare, I know exactly what I'm doing, I replied, my voice steady now, not trembling like before. And I'm not backing down. You've taken everything from this family, and I won't let you destroy it anymore. Jessica's face twisted, and I saw the fear in her eyes, something raw and unfiltered that I hadn't expected. You're making a mistake, she said softly, but the arrogance was gone, replaced with desperation. You're going to regret this day. But I didn't regret it. Not for a second. I turned to David, my father, hoping to find something in him, some sign that this was all for a reason. But there was nothing. He was still as cold as ever, his expression unreadable. I could feel my heart sink as I realized that all these years, the man who was supposed to protect us had been silently complicit. But this wasn't about him anymore. This was about breaking free. You're done, Jessica, I said, the words sharp and final. You've stolen from this family long enough. And now it's over. David finally stood, moving toward the mantel with the slow deliberation of a man making a decision that would change everything. He didn't say a word, just picked up the small, leather-bound notebook he kept hidden away for years. A record of debts, lies, and every betrayal. He dropped it on the table between us, the sound echoing through the room. You're the one who's done, Jessica, he said, his voice low but heavy with years of frustration. He turned the book around so everyone could see it. Every date, every amount carefully logged. I've been watching this family fall apart for years. And I've done nothing. But not anymore. You owe me more than money. You owe me the truth. Jessica's face went pale as she read the numbers. The incriminating evidence laid out before her like a confession she could no longer deny. She looked at my mother, who had remained silent throughout. But Susan just stared at the book, her eyes wide in disbelief. "David, please," Susan whispered, her voice shaking. "Not here. Not now." But David didn't flinch. "It's too late for that. Susan, you've enabled her. You've allowed this to happen." Touches. The room fell into silence, the weight of what was happening settling over us all like a heavy fog. Jessica opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Her lips trembled, the reality of what she had done finally sinking in. "You can't do this to me," she whispered, looking at me now as though I were the villain in her story. But I wasn't the villain. I was the one who had finally found the strength to speak up, to stop hiding in the shadows of her lies. "I've done more than enough," I said, standing tall now, every inch of me exuding the power I had kept hidden for far too long. "I'm not afraid of you anymore. Jessica stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor as she stumbled backward, eyes darting around the room, looking for anyone to help her. My Uncle Mark, who had laughed earlier, looked away. Susan reached for her, but Jessica pulled away. "This is all your fault," she snapped at Susan. But the older woman just stood there, her face crumpled with the weight of everything we had lost. "Get out," David said, his voice so cold it sent a chill through the room. He didn't raise his voice, but the finality in his words was unmistakable. Jessica froze, looking around at the room that had once been her domain. And for the first time in her life, I saw the fear of losing everything. Her gaze turned to me, wide and pleading. "Sarah, please," she whispered, the arrogance from earlier completely gone. "You don't want to do this. You're my sister." But I wasn't her sister anymore. Not in the way she had wanted me to be. I shook my head. "You should hurry," I said, my voice sharp as I glanced toward the door. "Traffic's going to be terrible tonight." She didn't move. She just stood there, eyes full of disbelief, before she turned and fled, her footsteps echoing down the hall. I didn't watch her go. I didn't need to. The weight in my chest lifted as I turned to Jacob, who had been quietly watching the entire scene unfold. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something new in them, a flicker of understanding, of hope. The silence in the room felt different now, more peaceful. I had done it. I had finally done what needed to be done. The family I had tried so hard to protect was no longer something I had to carry on my back. The rest of the evening was quiet. No more shouting. No more lies. Just the sound of Jacob's laughter as he ran around the house. His innocence undisturbed. His spirit unbroken. I realized then that the price for this peace had been high. But it was worth it. We had to break the structure to save the foundation. And in that moment, with Jacob safe in my arms and the world outside finally quiet, I knew that I had made the right choice. If you've ever had to break a bond to save yourself, type freedom in the comments. Let's remind each other that we're stronger than the chains that try to hold us down. If you've fought for your peace, you know the price it takes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.